Welcome back to another episode of Archie Sonic Character Files as we explore the histories of the inhabitants on planet Mobius. In this episode, we take a look at the defenders of the northern tundra known as the Arctic Freedom Fighters. Yeah, you might be surprised to hear that when it comes to the Freedom Fighters in Archie Sonic, it wasn't always just Sonic and his team from Knothole Village. There exist many other groups all over the world fighting for the same reason. The Down Under Freedom Fighters, the 40 Fathom Freedom Fighters, the Original Freedom Fighters, and many other groups fighting against the tyranny of Dr. Robotnik. So I felt like picking out one of my personal favorites, the Arctic Freedom Fighters. That's right, a 5-in-1 deal this time. First I'll go over the history of the team, and then I'll talk about the individual members. They made their first appearance in issue 26 in the story Way Past Cool. Sonic and his Freedom Fighters find shelter in a warm cave to get away from the harsh winter weather created by Robotnik's Winter Annihilator machine. There they meet Flip the Penguin, Celia the Seal, Irma the Ermine, Augustus the Polar Bear, and Guntiver the Wolf. They are a group of regular Mobians who live in the Arctic regions of Mobius who came down to visit friends and family, but ever since Robotnik's takeover, they've been using this cave to hide from him. Since they prefer to live in the cold, they use scrap parts of Robotnik's machinery to create an artificial Arctic zone, and they allow the Freedom Fighters to train there to help get used to the cold climate. After this, Sonic and his team try to stop Robotnik's weather machine, but are quickly put on ice thanks to Robotnik's nephew, Snively. This might have been the end for Sonic and his team, but the Arctic Mobians jump in to stop Snively and help Sonic destroy the Weather Annihilator. After the global climate returns to normal, Guntiver and his friends head back to the Arctic and thank the Freedom Fighters for inspiring them to find the courage to fight and defend for themselves. The next time we'd see them in action would be in issue 32, although it only focuses on Celia and Augustus. There, they try to help Rotor free his family and the other walruses, who are now mindless workers constructing a device for Robotnik that'll freeze everyone on Mobius. After battling some ice-themed SWAT bots and being chased after by the walrus herd, Augustus uses his strength to break the ice glacier, leaving Rotor on one side and the herd stuck on the other side. While they didn't succeed in rescuing them from mind control, they did succeed in keeping them away from helping Robotnik. After this, the Arctic Freedom Fighters would make a few smaller appearances. In issue 85, they contact Rotor to tell him that the walrus herd is free from mind control now that the original Robotnik is dead, only to later rescue him when the herd is once again under mind control, this time by the second Robotnik. And in issue 125, they were one of the many groups to help out in fighting off the Zordar aliens from destroying Mobius. The characters disappeared for a while until they made their big return in issue 215 in the two-part story Family Matters. Here, Sonic and the now-retired Rotor reunite with the Arctic Freedom Fighters. This time, Robotnik is using the walrus herd to construct some kind of giant building, which Guntiver presumes it's some sort of refueling station. Sonic travels to the northern tundra to help out the Arctic Freedom Fighters, while Rotor secretly heads out there as well. After dealing with some mind-controlled walruses and legionized orcas, they are successful in destroying the tower thanks to some extra help by Rotor and Silver, and manage to free the walrus herd, this time for good. And finally, they would make one more appearance in issue 247, the last Archie Sonic comic to take place in the old continuity. This time, they assist Sonic, Tails, Amy, and later Silver to infiltrate the Death Egg Mark II to find and rescue the roboticized Sally. After dealing with Acolyte and some egg swats, they succeed in finding Mecha Sally. But their victory is bittersweet as Robotnik has unleashed the Genesis Wave once again, erasing the Arctic Freedom Fighters from existence. Guntiver is the main leader and the one who organized the group after being inspired by Sonic and his team to fight for freedom, although it did take some time for the team to properly establish themselves, as they were once an activist group before meeting Sonic. Yeah, I keep forgetting that was the thing with these guys. It's only mentioned once in issue 215 and that was it. I guess that was just Ian Flynn's way of trying to explain why we haven't seen these guys in action that much. But yeah, he's a brave leader, well strategized with his plans, and he just looks cool, no pun intended. Ah yes, the Seal Gal. Wears a striped shirt and beret, so of course she also happens to be French and speaks with a French accent, haha! Anyway, Celia isn't much of a fighter despite being able to stand upright with her flippers. Her speciality is being more of a skilled swimmer. Makes sense since she is a seal after all. She had some changes in the series. Originally she had more of a simple design and was gray, and then in issue 215 she was redesigned and now looks purple. A bit odd, but I soon got used to the purple look. Celia is definitely the heart of the team, as she's a bit more of a pacifist. And judging how she greets Sonic in that one panel, it looks like she's quite the hugger. I guess that's why she's my favorite member out of the team. Now that I think about it, there's never really been a scene with Antoine and Celia just hanging out. I mean, come on, someone needs to do fan art of that, you know, just Antoine and Celia, just French buddies hanging out together. This guy is obviously the bronze of the group, and definitely more of a different looking polar bear compared to Bark. Augustus is friendly, but can be aggressive when provoked. It is interesting that he started off more as a chubby-looking polar bear, and then they decided to beef him up in issue 85. Either he's been hit in the gym, or he got addicted to steroids. Either way, this design would stick throughout the series, and I'm fine with that. In fact, everyone looks better with their redesigns in issue 215. The last time we saw him was when he was protecting Irma from laser blasts being fired at by the egg swats. No idea if he died or was just badly wounded, but knowing Augustus, I'm sure it was just a flesh wound. Honestly, I don't have much to say about Flip. He's alright. He's a decent fighter on land, in water, and he seems to be more of the prankster of their group, but we don't get much development with him. Originally he wore a red cap, but later they changed it to be more of a red visor. I guess this guy became more of an expert in playing Texas Hold'em during his downtime. Irma has a rather interesting history in the comics, mostly because in a majority of her appearances, she really didn't have much of a personality, let alone any dialogue. She was more of a she's just there character. She didn't really do much aside from free Sonic from the rest of the Frozen Freedom Fighters. It's hard to believe that she wouldn't get much of a speaking role until issue 215. Did the previous writers intend for her to be a mute, or did they just not think of anything interesting to do with her? I imagine it's the latter. Anyway, issue 215 is Irma's big moment, as we see that she's more of the second-in-command of the team, helping out with strategizing and always ready for action. She's definitely the more aggressive member of the team, being very blunt and very impatient, but she does care to help out her teammates. Her main ability is turning invisible, which seems more like a reference to Sonic 06 where Amy could turn invisible for some reason. But when Sonic asks her about it, she just says, "I'm an ermine." So, does this mean real-life ermines can turn invisible? Well, sort of. I tried looking it up, and the most research I could find was that it's specifically white-furred ermines that can camouflage and blend in with their snowy surroundings, which is odd considering how she's a brown-furred ermine. Maybe she took some lessons from Espio or something. I imagine people wouldn't care much about her design and saying that she looks more like a gruff version of Sally Acorn, but I don't know, I think she's fine. And that concludes the Arctic Freedom Fighters. They're definitely some of the more lesser-known Freedom Fighter groups, thanks to their limited appearances. But I still like them for their abilities and personalities, and I really like their designs, mainly from issue 215 and onwards. Plus, I just like seeing some winter-themed characters. A real shame we never got to see them more, or at least see them in standalone adventures. The closest we got was that one story with Augustus and Celia helping out Rotor. Still, I think these guys need more love. They're definitely a lot more interesting than the 40 Fathom Freedom Fighters, I can tell you that much. Well, that takes care of this character file, so until then, I got a juice!